Second.
All right, it's been probably moved in second. Just procedural question from Mr. Rivera. We normally see if there's questions on the motion, but
Correct.
because of this, would we still ask for questions on the motion, or would we vote on it and then whatever fails or passes would then be published? Because it's an HR motion and we didn't pre-publish the items.
Questions from whom? The board?
From board members, yes, correct.
So after the second is made, before the vote is taken, typically questions and discussion can go on about a motion.
Okay.
Then once that discussion is closed, the board members can vote.
Yeah, so my clarification on a procedural thing was because normally the second in the motion is on an agenda item that has been published for the public. This technically has not been published for the public. So I just wanted to make sure, like,
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Do we need to read those items? Is there something that we need to do procedurally? I just want to make sure we're acting in concert.
So because this hasn't been published, the item should be read in its entirety now before it's voted on. I thought your question was, should the members of the board, if they have questions now, when do they ask those questions?
No, it was more so a procedural question on something that hadn't been published on the agenda.
So it should be read now.
Okay.
By the board secretary or me, whoever, but it's typically the board secretary will read it, and then the board can vote on it.
All right. Mr. Ottman, if you could read Q in its entirety, please.
Whereas the Plainfield Board of Education recognizes that a highly qualified, competent, skilled, and dedicated workforce is essential to the success of the district and the students, resolved that this is number one, resolved that the Plainfield Board of Education approves the appointment of Shayna Solomon Christian as coordinator of Child Study Team and Early Intervening Programs, IDEA grant funded, effective September 2nd until June 30th, 2021, at a prorated salary of $119,680. Number two, resolved that the Plainfield Board of Education approves the appointment of Shanisha Evans as Vice Principal, Plainfield High School, effective September 2nd to June 30th, 2021, at a prorated salary of $118,882, plus $3,000 education stipend. Number three, resolved that the Plainfield Board of Education approves the appointment of Lenny Jimenez as Vice Principal, Plainfield High School, effective September 2nd to June 30th, 2021, at a prorated salary of $117,895. Number four, resolved that the Plainfield Board of Education approves the appointment of Nicolina Gil-Landisi as acting principal, Plainfield High School, effective September 2nd until position is filled, at a prorated stipend of $800 per month.
All right. You've heard the reading of the actual agenda item. Board members, do you have any questions to the motion? Ms. Morgan.
Yes, I'd like to have an opportunity to review the job description for item number one before I would vote on that.
Okay. With the recommendation being that we vote on it this evening, would that mean that you would not vote on item one, Ms. Morgan?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there any other, Ms. Pyle?
I just wanted to know, Mr. Rivera, what does, if you abstain on any one of these, what does that, is that just abstention, is an abstention?
An abstention is not a yes vote, so it's not counted as a no, but it's not an affirmative vote. It just would mean you need to get to 5 votes for this item.
So you need 5 yeses?
You need 5 yeses, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions by any other board members? Mr. Ottman, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hembry?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
You're muted, Mr. Campbell. Yes.
Mrs. Anderson-Person?
I abstain.
Mrs. Morgan?
Yes, with the exception of item number one.
Ms. Pyle?
Abstain.
Dr. Richardson Miller?
Abstain.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
President Cox?
I'm going to vote yes on 1. I'm abstaining on 2, 3, and 4.
Number 1 carries, the rest fail.
All right.
How did that go? I'm sorry. What happened?
Number 1 carried, 2, 3, and 4 failed.
Thank you.
All right. Well, with no other items on the agenda, entertain a motion. Mr. Johnson?
Hold on. So that means we have no principal or VPs at the high school now. Mrs. Dr. Mitchell.
There are 2 assistant principals left at the high school, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
There are no other, any, Ms. Powell?
How many vice principals are normally at the high school?
There are normally 4 vice principals at the high school.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Campbell?
Question to the attorney. Is it appropriate to reach out to a board member that's not here?
Try to get them to join the meeting?
Yes.
Sure, if you can get them on, he can join anytime. Or you can calendar or call a special meeting at a later date. But either one, if you can get him on, he can join the meeting.
Excuse me, that board member has not been a part of the discussion or anything of that sort, but you just come up, pull them out the street and say, hey, just give me your vote?
Yes,
Really?
you can. Yes, you can. There's no prohibition.
We can call conflicted board members to vote.
I'm sorry, it's a separate question. What? I'm sorry, Ms. Richardson.
Conflicted board members to vote.
The question was whether you could reach out to a board member and get join a meeting late and cast a vote. Board member can come into a meeting late and cast a vote. Yes, there's no.
And another question is, we can reach out to conflicted board members to vote.
That question presupposes that some board members are conflicted. You can reach out to any board member to vote on any subject. You can join and cast his vote if you like.
Okay.
A board member can cast their vote if they like.
A board member should not cast a vote if they're conflicted. If they're not conflicted, they may cast their vote.
A board member can cast their vote if they like.
A board member is free to vote however they like, yes.
So you're just giving a rogue invitation for people to go rogue with their votes, regardless of whether they're conflicted or not.
I've advised on this issue. I've issued a memo. I'm not going to go back and forth over the same thing over and over again.
Mr. Campbell, can you please mute you? Because I think it's you that's giving all this feedback. Thank you, Ms. Avanya Richardson Miller. I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, so I said, so our board attorney has just extended a rogue invitation for conflicted members to vote, to exercise their vote in any way they want to, regardless of ethics, board ethics, and them being conflicted. And I said that I take major issue with that, Mr. Rivera.
Ms. Powell?
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Campbell, can you please mute you? It's obvious that you're, unless you just want it to feedback. Thank you. I'm really annoyed at this thing of just call your friend in, the one who's, we couldn't make it because it's his anniversary, but call him because we need that vote. We need to get these people in. So, you know, Mr. Attorney, can we, oh, yeah, look who's here. Look who popped in. You know, look who popped in to give his vote. Are you serious, Mr. Rivera? Is this the kind of advice that you are giving this board, this rogue board, to just, if you don't like it, file an ethics claim. If you, oh, sure, go grab him because he needs a vote. He's conflicted, but that's okay. Bring him in, let him vote, and then you guys, you don't like it, go file an ethics complaint. Really, Mr. Rivera? Is this how you want to start your rogue here for our children, or is it for the adults? Which one, Mr. Rivera? Because it's clear that this is the reason why that Mr. Stern was fired and you were placed here. It is, excuse me,
Ms. Powell.
that is, no, I am still speaking. I am still speaking. It is clear, because you don't like what I'm saying, I would hope that you don't mute me. Now, Mr. Rivera, do you really think this is the way this board should run? That you're saying just file an ethics complaint if you don't like it, grab that man from his anniversary and have him vote yes, just a conflicted one at that, a conflicted one. I've said what I had to say.
All right, thank you, Ms. Powell. Ms. Morgan?
Second here. I think that we need to prioritize, and we just had one of our principals, who's also the president of PASA, who appeared to be very concerned about us not having any leadership at the high school for our students. So I am grateful that Mr. Wyatt has been able to make himself available so that we can have the complete number of 9 board members participate in the vote. Thank you, Mr. Wyatt. For the children.
All right, Ms. Hembry?
Thank you, Mr. Wyatt, for joining us. The children need you. Thank you very much.
All right, in the effort and in the spirit of moving this along, Mr. Wyatt, thank you for taking out the time to take this vote. Mr. Ottman, can you please read? I know Mr. Wyatt has gotten his agenda, but for the record, can you read the items to be voted on as a recommendation from our chief school administrator so Mr. Wyatt can take his vote?
Mr. Wyatt, we have 4 appointments, 4 items under administrative appointments. Resolve the Plainfield Board of Education approves the appointment of Shayna Solomon Christian as coordinator of Child Study Team and Early Intervening Programs, effective September 2nd to June 30th, 2021, at a prorated salary of $119,680. Number 2, resolve that the Plainfield Board of Education approves the appointment of Shanisha Evans as vice principal, Plainfield High School, effective September 2nd until June 30th, 2021, at a prorated salary of $118,882 plus a $3,000 education stipend. Number 3, resolve that the Plainfield Board of Education approves the appointment of Lenny Jimenez as vice principal, Plainfield High School, effective September 2nd to June 30th, 2021, at a prorated salary of $117,895. And number 4, resolve that the Plainfield Board of Education approves the appointment of Miguelina Gilandisi as acting principal, Plainfield High School, effective September 2nd until the position is filled, at a prorated stipend of $800 per month.
I think the vote should be taken all over again.
Yes,
Shouldn't the entire vote, shouldn't everybody vote again, Mr. Rivera?
We've all casted our votes, Ms. Powell.
And it failed. And it failed. And it failed, Mr. Rivera. He did not hear the discussion.
For procedural purposes, do we all need to recast our vote?
Mr. Ottman, do you have the recorded vote?
I do.
Okay, so I think Mr. Wyatt to vote and it to be added.
Woo! Go for it. Go for it.
Hold on a second, Ms. Morgan.
Yes, this one of the...
No, I said hold on one second, Ms. Morgan.
Okay.
Mr. Ottman, can you call the roll for Mr. Wyatt's vote, please?
Wyatt?
Yes to all.
Motion carries for all 4.
All right, Ms. Morgan?
Yes, when Mr. Ottman was reading one of the resolutions, it indicated that someone would get a education stipend. Is that typical to be a part of a resolution, to give someone a position on the agenda? Is that typical of an agenda item to include that?
Well, I would defer to Mrs. Jones, but I believe that's been our standard practice.
It's collectively bargained in their contract, Ms. Morgan. If they've attained a certain educational level.
Okay, that's in the current contract.
Correct.
We are bound to that stipulation.
Correct.
Thank you for the clarification.
Not a problem. Entertain a motion.
I make a motion that this meeting be adjourned.
Good night,
Second,
everybody. All right.
Bye.
Probably move second. All in favor?
aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Good night.
Be well and be safe.